Welcome back. It's time for a little truth-telling, or at least some lessons on better hearing the truth when it comes to your performance in the workplace. And let's face it, we all have triggers that can block our ability to really hear and fairly process performance evaluations. But our workplace expert, Mary Abbajay, is here to say, be not afraid. There are key steps you can take to becoming a real pro at positively processing even the most negative feedback. Mary, this is something we all need to hear. Bosses and employees, both sides need to be better at receiving feedback and processing it fairly. So you say there's three main triggers. Let's start with number one. Truth triggers. That's when someone's telling you something and you're not hearing it because you're sitting there saying in your mind, you're just wrong. So that's the first trigger, and what it does is it blocks our cognitive ability to hear the feedback. So we might get feedback, someone might be giving you some feedback, and the first trigger is you're wrong, that's it, that's stupid, I don't need it. And that blocks us from hearing it. And the key is there actually may be a golden nugget of truth in that. So when someone gives you that feedback that you think it's wrong or it's unhelpful, you still should really dig in and listen. Because whether it's wrong or not, it's the boss's perception or a coworker's perception, and it's blocking that relationship.
That's exactly right. So what you're getting feedback on is the impact that you've had on somebody. And oftentimes that misaligns with our intention, but you still need to be aware there is a golden nugget in there about your impact. So dig in, listen, even if it's not true, even if it's just for humor's sake, listen to that feedback.
Listen first and then explain, because I'll tell you, one of the most effective meetings I ever had was with a boss when I worked on Capitol Hill, who it became clear over time had an issue with me that we didn't originally have. And when I finally got up the courage to go to him and say, it's clear you're upset with me, and I thought it was
about something else.
I thought it was because of my personality, that I was just too loud, too in your face, and it turned out something had happened that he had heard about, and it was wrong. It hadn't happened. And once we got to talking about it, it cleared up everything.
That's right. And so when someone's giving you feedback, even if you think it's wrong, ask for more details. Say, tell me more. What do you mean? What exactly, when did that happen? And then you can piece it apart, because oftentimes you're right. They may not have all the information. Now that's very different than being defensive. Like, you don't want to just say, oh no, you're wrong.
So hard not to be.
I know, but you've got to like really dig it out of them and really listen and be thoughtful, and then you can start
it's like marriage counseling. They always say there's two in a relationship just because you think the other person was. Okay, so second trigger, relationship triggers. And you say, this is when you say, I can't hear this feedback from you because I don't respect you. I don't think you are a person in a power position to evaluate me. How do you deal with that?
So when you get the relationship trigger, that starts our emotional churn, right? And that's really hard to hear things when you're emotional. It's really important to separate the who from the what. All right.
And this is so common because more and more people have bosses who are younger than them, and they immediately have this attitude of, I can't respect you because you're younger.
That's a perfect example of a relationship trigger. So you got to separate the who from the what. Really dig into the what, like find out what it is. Same, then you go into the truth trigger, find out what it is, get some details, and then in the back of your mind, you have to realize this also might be about the relationship, but don't bring the relationship into it quite yet. Separate these two pieces.
Third identity trigger. Your feedback threatens who I am. Now, this one I didn't fully understand, so explain this one to me.
Let's say I give you some feedback. Let's say, well, Rebecca, you talk too fast in this interview today. So,
which I do.
Which I love. So sometimes we get feedback, and let's say in your mind, your identity is wrapped up with being a great interviewer. Sometimes what happens is we get feedback that actually hurts who we think we are, what we hold near and dear about ourselves. And then we start to escalate or spiral, either up or either down. And that's when we may catastrophize this feedback, or we get blow it all out of proportion.
Yes.
Right? And so this
because they may be wrong. They may have an opinion of you.
Or maybe you spoke too quickly for like 5 minutes or one time.
And it may be one person's opinion, but either way it's blocking their view of what they think you can accomplish.
Right. And we all know people that when you give them any feedback, they shut down, right? Some people...
Or like me, cry. I hate it. I'm a crier. I hate it. I hate it because I just feel so defensive.
So the trick is to take this feedback and compartmentalize it. It's not about you. It's just about one behavior.
Can we, next time you're back, talk about this further? Because you have some feedback tips that go beyond this, like saying thank you no matter what you heard.
No matter what you do, I would
Can
say
we do,
thank you.
this show's going to be all about part 2s. We've got part 2 of our A block. I want to do part 2 of feedback.
Yeah,
I
so
think
we can
this
talk
is
about
so
giving
helpful.
it too.
Very good. Mary Abbajay, you give lots of good feedback. Thank you. I'll try and slow down in the next interview. Thanks for joining us. And the roundtable's next. We've got the inside scoop on some big decisions being made that will impact your business and your wallet. So stay tuned for more of this week's Washington Business Report.